In an absolute plot twist turn of events, Donald Trump is considering sending $1,000 or more potentially to every American due to the coronavirus. This is incredible. This was announced today. The Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, said that part of the massive economic stimulus package that they're taking shape between Congress and the White House, they are thinking about sending $1,000 checks to the American people. This was Andrew Yang's entire platform when he ran for president, the $1,000 UBI. Andrew Yang, who ran as a Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard, actually, who also is running as a Democrat, announced something very similar. March 12th, she proposed to Congress H.R. 897, which is also a UBI package. So she was doing this about 5 days ago. She says, hey, we've got to do something. Americans are suffering. Americans need money. And so she actually put together a legislation and proposed it to the House. So you've got two Democrats, Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, and now Donald Trump, the Republican, sitting in office, is the one who might actually implement UBI, emergency UBI for all Americans. This would win the election, quite frankly. A politician, somebody in office who's actually caring about putting money in the hands of Americans rather than just bailing out the big industries is huge, huge, huge. I can't emphasize this enough. This is shocking, actually. So they go on to say, now, why would it maybe be more than $1,000? Because some of the lawmakers are saying, well, maybe we should do this kind of based on household income. So Steve Mnuchin also suggested that there maybe would be an income cutoff. So people that are making millions of dollars a year would not necessarily be eligible for the $1,000 a month. And he says, quote, I think it's clear we don't need to send people who make $1 million a year checks. And then he goes on, and then other Democratic lawmakers, you got Sherrod Brown from Ohio, Michael Bennet of Colorado, Cory Booker of New Jersey. They're also saying, you know what, maybe this isn't such a bad idea. And maybe what we should do is bump it up to $2,000 depending on a person's income. So if they have a really low income, then maybe we give them $2,000 because maybe these are the wage earners that are the hardest hit right now. They're not working at their restaurants. They're not walking dogs. They're not out there doing the things that you would, the real public facing. My family, they all work in nail salons, so a lot of those workers are really worrying about what is going to happen. So $2,000 for people under a certain income, and maybe then it would go to $1,500 and then to $1,000 to those who just don't need really any financial assistance at all through this economic downturn. So wow, guys, this is big news. If Donald Trump implements $1,000 UBI, essentially, for all Americans. Now, to clarify, this is just for American citizens only over the age of 18 is who would qualify for this. So if you are a permanent resident of the United States, this would not you would not be included in this. If you are an undocumented immigrant, you would not be included on this. If you are here working on a visa, you would not be eligible for this. So even though there are plenty of people who are here in this country legally, my mother being one of them, she is not an American citizen. Unfortunately, she is also hit by this economic downturn. Her industry in particular was hit very hard. She's in hospitality. She had to cancel all of her bookings for her vacation properties that she manages. And that is going to hurt her. And unfortunately, she's a permanent resident, a legal permanent resident, but will not be eligible for this $1,000 a month. So, maybe people who have a lot more means and they don't really need the $1,000 because maybe their industry is not really hit. Maybe then they could give that, donate that money to somebody in their circle, friend or family, who really does need that extra money. They need it to survive. So that's something to think about. We all kind of have to help each other out during this economic time. For me, it's probably not going to economically hit me. Maybe the last couple of videos have been demonetized. I'm not sure if they're demonetized. It's very strange that the last two videos of mine have been demonetized. We'll see if this one is. So I don't know if Google's just worried they're not going to get advertising dollars from places. And so that's why they're kind of limiting how much money we can make at this time. That's possible. I don't really know. Or maybe anything that has to do with the coronavirus is going to be demonetized. I don't really know. Yet to be seen these upcoming days. But, if I'm not economically hit by this too severely, then I would, probably give the $1,000 to my mom, obviously. So somebody else in my inner circle who is not eligible, or they're, it's just not going to cut it for them or something like that. One thing that I really wish that our government would do is put a moratorium on all mortgages, rents, car payments, student loan payments. Any sort of debt should be delayed, just kind of freeze time and say, okay, we're not going to do this. Italy did that. They said, we're not going to collect any mortgage payments in Italy. They don't have a huge rental market in Italy. Most people own their homes. But, the Italians, they definitely come together at times like this. They definitely help each other out. They're very community focused. And so I have no doubt that the Italians are figuring out how they're going to get through this. South Korea also did a lot of stuff in order to help. They didn't shut anything down in South Korea except for the schools. And they said, okay, large public events, we don't want those to happen. But in South Korea, when they closed down the schools, what they did was they said, okay, but there's a lot of working parents who rely on that childcare. And now a lot of people in Asia live in multi-generational homes. So a lot of those kids are living with grandma and grandpa. So it was really important to close down the schools because the kids can't, one kid gets it in a school of 1,000 kids, and then they're all going back home to elderly grandma and grandpa who are watching them. That was a genuine crisis in South Korea. So most of the kids are not needing childcare, but some of the parents in South Korea do not have multi-generational homes. They rely on that childcare. So South Korea kept open the childcare centers. They said, okay, if you need it, you take your kid there, no problem. If you're in an area where you can't get to a childcare center for whatever reason, they actually were sending childcare workers to the homes of South Koreans. They stepped up as a government and they helped the people out based on the needs of the people. Same thing in Japan. Japan did not, the only thing Japan did was close down schools. And even then, the Japanese government is being very pragmatic about it. They're saying, look, the numbers, yeah, sure, lots of people have this virus, but the numbers are just not there to get to this level of panic and this level of shutting down the economy. So Japan has not taken those measures at all. And guess what? They're not, the virus is on the decline there. They're not spreading it around. They've got fewer and fewer cases every day. So all of Asia is pretty much on the mend at the moment, moving forward. But it was sort of disheartening, watching these other governments actually step up to help their citizens, to care about their citizens. And then it's disheartening to look at our government and stress out and worry that the only people they're going to bail out, once again, are the banks. And if Donald Trump pulls this off, and if he actually sticks the money in the hands of the American people and he doesn't just go and bail out the big corporations. Now, some of them are going to need to be bailed out. The airlines are particularly hit really hard right now. And if they don't get a bailout for the airlines, this was something that wasn't a mistake they made. This wasn't like the banks getting greedy, over leveraging, doing all of these things. This was the airline industry taking a hit for a completely out of control, unknown variable that nobody could have ever foreseen coming. So I am not at all against bailing out the airlines. I'm not at all against bailing out various big businesses that are going to be hit, some retailers, restaurants, small businesses, definitely. And that's all part of the economic stimulus package that they're putting together. They're looking at bailing out kind of everybody. But guess what? The American people included. And that is huge. Finally, we're going to be looked at. We're going to be considered in the bailout. The American people. If Donald Trump does that, wow. I think that scary thing. Okay, something scary to think about, because I think that would just get him reelected right away. People would say, oh my gosh, actually a politician who cares about the people. And one of the reasons why Donald Trump, before I get to the scary part, one of the reasons why Donald Trump is able to do that is because he's not, the way it is, as much people want to give him a lot of grief and whatever, he is not beholden to large donors like the insurance industries or, his campaigns. The thing is okay, let me just rephrase that, because that's not totally accurate. He definitely does fundraise and take a lot of money from a lot of the big industries. But I would put it this way. Donald Trump, clearly his priority, he has shown his priority all along. He just wants to be popular. He says whatever he thinks is going to get people riled up. He says whatever he thinks is going to get ratings. He's a ratings-based person. That's why he did television. He likes to be liked, period. And that is his number one concern. Now, you might say, okay, he also cares about his businesses and Trump this and Trump that. I don't think he cares about that as much as he cares about being liked and everybody loving him and worshiping him. He's a bit of a megalomaniac, right? But in a case like this, that works in our favor because he cares about us liking him. He's sitting there like, oh, I want to get reelected. I want the people to like me. I like my rallies and people showing up. And I like going places and people saying, Mr. President, I love you. I like the idea of winning again, right? He's focused on winning that reelection. And in order to do that, he has to win over the people. Now, the way the Democrats have been doing it, the establishment elites and including establishment Republicans, they don't focus on the people. They sit there and they focus on their donors. What am I going to do to make my donors happy? Because my donors matter more to me than winning over the people. That has been the Democrats' strategy and the establishment Republican strategy. It is just the establishment in general. The establishment strategy has been this whole time put fear in the hearts of people so that they feel like they have to vote for us or else they're going to lose their lives. They're going to, or others are going to lose their lives. You know, it's just going to be absolute mayhem. Racism wins, death wins. Really what they do is they peddle fear. They peddle fear, they peddle fear, they peddle fear. On the Republican establishment side, they say innocent babies are going to die and families are going to be destroyed. You know, we can't allow abortions. We can't allow gay rights. All of these things are going to be destroyed. And on the Democrat side, they say, oh my gosh, racism and kids in cages. And it's all really bad. And they use fear. They use fear to gain our votes. Donald Trump, on the other hand, I got to give the guy credit. He's sitting there saying, I just want to win. I just want people to like me. And you know how they're going to like me is if I bail them out. And guess what? That's going to work. And it's going to work in our favor. And I'm not against it. I want more politicians to care about riling up their base. That is what we want. We want politicians to say, I want my base to love me. I want them to love me and I want them to vote for me. And unfortunately, what's been riling people up is fear. And that has been causing the kind of the circus that we're in is that they just rile us up with fear. And then they turn around and they collect their money from their donors and they say, I'll do whatever you want when it comes to legislation, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep them afraid while I do that. And Donald Trump right now is saying, nah, you know what? What makes him afraid is losing the election, and he's going to do everything that he can to win again. And if that means bailing us out, like I said, all for it. So, plot twist, turn of events. Andrew Yang is also saying that he's, big announcement. This is huge. This just goes to show that this is what I was saying when I was talking about building a third party. You've got people in the more populist side of the Democrat Party, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang, and they are now agreeing and pushing forward legislation that Donald Trump, a populist, is actually adopting. And Bernie Sanders, I would be surprised. Bernie should have come out and said something. I know Andrew Yang was pushing them on that yesterday. He was saying in a tweet, quote, Joe and Bernie, please come out for cash relief for the people immediately. Don't let this pass without you calling for it. And he said, when the people get the cash, they will say, finally, the government did something right. You want to be a part of that. Guess what, guys? It's going to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to be a part of that. Donald Trump is going to pull that off. I don't think they would have made that announcement today. I don't think Steve Mnuchin would have gotten the American people's hopes up if they don't plan on actually doing that. That is going to be really big. So let's see how that pans out. That's exciting. I wish they would do more. We need to put, like I said, moratoriums on mortgages and rents and whatnot. But wow, bailing out the American people. What a first. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, the scary thing. I didn't get to the scary thing. What is scary about all of this is this would for sure give Trump a massive boost toward re-election. I mean, a lot of us will sit there and wonder, you know what? Last time, what did the government do under Bush and Obama? What did the establishment do? They bailed out the banks. And now we've got Trump and he's going to bail out the people in a moment of crisis. I don't know. Maybe he's worth my vote. Maybe he's worth my vote. A lot of people are going to be sitting there thinking that. And the scary part is that means that Democrats are going to double down on the fear mongering. They're going to double down on the conspiracies. They're going to double down on trying to get him out of office. And that means mayhem between now and November. They are going to come up with crazy theory and crazy whatever it is that they're going to come up with in order to ensure that he loses the public trust and public opinion before November. That is the scary part. I don't know what they're capable of. So, but I don't want to leave this on that. I want to leave this on a good note. We all might be getting some money to help out during this crisis. That is really great. That is really, really great. So, can't wait. And I'm really curious to see if the House Democrats are going to somehow try to, I don't know what they're going to do. They have a tendency to like to hate everything Trump does. They can't possibly hate on this. That would look really, really bad, but you never know. You can't put things past them. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell. And right now, definitely help the people out in your community. Look around, see who needs something. Maybe some elderly neighbors need some groceries, maybe some toilet paper. You can maybe donate a roll. Maybe you can help out with, some of the people around you who are suffering, who they work in salons, they work in restaurants, they're personal trainers, and they no longer can do any of those things. Some of the restaurants, maybe you could buy gift cards from the restaurants. You can buy gift cards from retailers to kind of keep them floating for a little while if you happen to have some extra cash, things like that. So thanks so much for watching. Time to come together and get through this.